right. Yeah, should we take this on the road to the shop and look at that
Sure.
that job that you're working on right now? You're putting frets
We're putting frets in
something
about
right
a
now.
75 or 6 Les Paul Deluxe Standard.
Look at check this out. I got this.
Awesome.
Let's do that. We'll be back. All right, so a little field trip back here to the back of the shop here, working on. So tell me what you're working on here. We're talking about scale lengths and necks and all that kind of stuff, and you've got a project going on right here.
Yeah, this is a actual Gibson. It's about a 75 or 76 Deluxe Standard. It actually was
really?
routed for regular humbuckers at the factory.
Yeah.
But it happens to say Deluxe on the back of the headstock.
I don't know if they can see that, but yeah, Les Paul Deluxe. It absolutely does. Is that the cap for the truss rod right there?
Yeah.
Standard?
Yeah, that's right. And that is the actual.
But it says Deluxe on the headstock.
I know it's a really odd model, but they really did make these.
A standard Deluxe?
A Standard Deluxe or Deluxe Standard, however you want to say it. I mean, and it's real.
The contemporary traditionalist.
But unfortunately, it had incorrect keys on it.
Yeah.
These are old Ovation keys from the 70s.
So it's been peopled a little bit?
A little bit. We're going to put on some nice Clusen
Oh, yeah, the
Clusens.
Clusens. I love the look of those on a, absolutely
and
on
the
a
other
Gibson.
problem was someone had ground the frets down to where this was not fretless wonder wouldn't even have begun to tell you what this thing was. It just had
Really?
nothing left. And the binding was, someone had rounded over the binding so bad
Yeah.
that there was nothing I could really do.
You know what?
but
I
just
think
pull
in
the
my
binding.
archive somewhere I've got a picture of this
Okay.
when we were talking about something and it didn't have the bindings on it. Because I remember seeing this without these bindings
Right.
on here.
Well,
Because you were
that was
talking to
our
me
biggest problem
about this
was we had to-
special mixture that you use to adhere the bindings and
Right.
stuff like that. You've got a secret sauce that you use.
That's the original treble side binding.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been like that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it was so rounded off, and you probably won't be able to see it, but it was just so rounded off, and you could feel it easy. There was just
Oh,
not
yeah.
much-
No, you can see it right on this edge. Oh, yeah. It looks like it's floor molding,
right,
like base cove.
right.
That's what it looks like.
This is a classic example of what happens when a customer says, "Well, I don't really care if you do it the way they did it originally. I want you to do something different." In this particular case, most guitar players are aware that Gibson's frets stop at the wood, and the binding, they file the
Takes
frets
over.
flat, and then the binding is glued to the wood, and then they file the binding down to match the fret. So you have what we call nibs
On the edge, you've got
on the very
nibs.
edge. And in fact, you can just barely, they left a little tiny bit of the nibs left.
Yes,
Not much.
Yep, there's a little bit of the nibs there. You're right.
Yeah. So that's what would be considered to be original.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this particular fella, who's a phenomenal player, actually prefers the fret to go out over the top of the binding.
Which is what
Just
you're
what
in
we're
the
doing right
process
there.
of doing right there.
Right.
Got it.
So the problem I was running into was, because this binding is so rounded over, I would have had to bend the fret to some insane angle
Yeah.
in order to get that to go around that tiny little radius. Otherwise, you would have wrote up this and it would have just cut you to ribbons. There's no way you would have ever
Yeah,
done that thing.
yeah.
Right. So what we did was we put on fresh binding.
Mm-hmm.
We sanded the whole thing so that this arc for the radius is now the same, going all the way out to the corners of the binding. Now we can put this down and undercut the frets.
Mm-hmm.
Little notch in the fret.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that-
yeah. Got it.
So that this will stick out over the top of the binding.
Yeah,
But
beautiful.
this tang will fit in between there, and it's been undercut just enough so that it
Mm-hmm.
won't, when we push that down in there, it won't push the binding apart. 'Cause
Right.
sometimes
yeah, because
it'll flatten out
once
and
you
then
flatten
push
it
it
out,
apart.
it'll put tension on there, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah, because then you get that. In fact, if you
Because this
see-
isn't the most fun thing to put on.
No, it really isn't, because you really have to do a lot of cleaning and scraping to make sure everything is just so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't, because the glue that they use for doing this is a Duco type cement or airplane glue. That kind
Yeah.
of-
Yeah. Yeah.
And the problem is, it's not something you can glue to with fresh glue. the old glue gets crystallized.
Oh, you got to get rid of the old glue.
You got to get it out of there.
Okay, I got you.
And then you got to kind of acetone the.
Yeah, you got to clean it up. Won't adhere again.
Rosewood,
Yeah.
So it will have something to adhere to. So that took a long time, and then getting the binding fitted, tied down and tight, trimmed, and then sanded, scraped.
Well, you were doing a lot of work sanding this, and it feels absolutely beautiful.
It took weeks to get this down to this point.
And it's beautiful. And I want to just get a shot of these because you see, this is what I'm looking at. See these? Do you see these dark marks? Because I asked you about these dark marks, and then I wanted to see what is the dark marks? What are these?
These are finger digs.
Yeah.
This is where your fingernail has dug in. Okay.
Baby's been played.
This baby has been played a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, she had no frets.
Right.
She was worn out. So the problem that I had was getting this board flat and smooth, and we couldn't go all the way to the bottom because if we did, the inlays would have started disappearing. That's how thin it is.
Yeah. Okay? Right.
And we also had to make sure that this didn't look too skinny by going down too thin.
Yeah.
So there were some issues there.
And you've got to make sure that this binding here somewhat matches the rest of the body.
Well, now we're gonna
right.
Well, that's another thing. So here's the original binding color.
Yeah.
You know, this is with lacquer.
Yeah.
This is without lacquer, worn off.
Yeah.
So we were pretty close.
Oh yeah, I would say you're pretty dead on. I mean, with age, you got to consider age on that baby.
Well, we will be going back in with a little bit of airbrush and lacquer
and aging it.
Aging that a little
bit.
So
Beautiful. Good. Yeah, because it's really close, but I can see there's a little work.
The other thing that we ran into is right here, the depth of this channel was almost flawless to the width of the binding.
Oh yeah.
But see over here, the neck has been carved.
Oh yeah, right over here. I don't know if you can see it up, but you can.
Out.
Yeah, you can feel it. Yeah.
So now we've got to scrape all this so that it matches this neck and has a nice transition because you'll feel it.
You'll feel it. No, it feels cheap. I can feel it. That would drive me nuts. It's not cheap. That would drive me nuts. Yeah, absolutely. I see that exactly. Flush, perfect, and then right there.
Right. And then the other aggravation that people don't quite get is it's much easier to build a guitar from scratch than it is to rebuild a guitar that is already down to spec and has wear.
Well, yeah, I mean,
now your reference is gone. If you're trying to hit a moving target, you can tell this inlay is really thin. I mean that's almost getting to the point where it will be transparent.
Yeah, so you've got to. Yeah, I see the difference.
You can take wood off. You can't put it back so easy.
You're exactly right.
One of the problems of doing any kind of restoration work on any kind of instrument, doesn't matter what it is not to do more damage. You know what? It's the same thing as a doctor. Do no damage. You know, don't make things worse. So we have to proceed carefully and make sure that whatever we do, we make sure that these parts are going to work correctly. And give us what we are hoping to.
When you're working on stuff like this, and when you're working on things in general, right? There's a danger of going, oh, I know what I'm doing, and you rush forward and get it. No. So 42 years in the business, are you at that level where? Oh, I mean, how much planning? Let me ask you this. You look at this and you go, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to make my special glue that I use. They're sitting over in these little bottles over here, which I saw you making it before, and that's a long process, and it's got to age like you're making sauerkraut and all that other kind of stuff. But you've got this all planned out. Then do you sit back for a couple days and go, okay, and go through it in your mind to make sure that's the right process? Because you don't want to get 3 steps down and go, damn.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things about building guitars. There's a sequence.
Yeah.
If you get these steps out of sequence, you can actually cause yourself more trouble. This one is a great example because the customer would prefer to have his frets over the binding.
Right.
Here's a dumb thing that you would never have happen on a Gibson version.
Yeah.
If we put the frets in first and then file the frets flat to the shelf, then we glue the binding on. Any small space under the fret, the binding glue would go in there and fill that up, and it would be, not a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you don't have the frets in there and you glue the binding on, the glue goes into the empty slot and fills it up and dries and solidifies. So I spent a week digging glue out.
I was here when you were doing that, actually.
Yeah.
I was here while you were doing that.
Using
and
tools like this,
and this
know?
tool right here. Yeah, I was going to ask you to show some of the tools you were using on this because yeah, I was here when you were doing that, and it's interesting that this has two things there, and I was wondering why. But when I was watching you, I was like, that makes 100%.
One set of teeth go that way, and the other set of teeth
go this way. Yeah,
so that I can get in here close with this one and pull back.
Yep.
And clean that out and deepen it if I need to.
Yeah.
And the same thing with this one, where we can,
go that way.
Deepen it if we need to, and then we can take this unit and pull and dig and scrape until we get that. And it's not easy. It's just full of crap and glue.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, pulling out old frets and replacing them is not a piece of cake.
No, and it's just got to be done right because
it's got to be done.
Here's
right.
the problem: the tang.
Yeah.
On the end of the fret, we'll just take a piece of fret wire. Oh, we'll use this one.
Okay.
So a piece of fret wire.
What is the tang? That piece that
tang
comes down?
is this piece right here, and they've got little barbs on it.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
little diamond-shaped barbs. Okay. That tang has a specific length. This slot has got to be at least as deep as this, if not a little bit more, right?
That's a good point.
Because
otherwise, your fret's going to be raised.
Your fret's not going to sit down flat on the board, and that's very important because the board has to be flat. The fret has to be consistent, good quality wire. It's got to sit flat on the board and not get crushed into the wood because some people will pull a press and they'll crush it right into the wood, and then they don't have any reference for the top of their fret at all.
All right, now doing that building, the radius, yes.
Yeah, the radius.
So this is actually it's curved and it's conical.
Now, conical refers specifically to a compound board. Gibson traditionally just uses a straight 12.
Okay.
In this case, this is what I'm using. This is a straight 12-inch radius.
12-inch radius aluminum beam sander.
Extruded aluminum sanding block.
Okay.
Okay, and it has
a little bit of elbow grease going in on it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because what I wanted to get to was this.
Literally done like that.
If this was a conical one, and if this was that, and it was just the rosewood, you could put it on that machine and boom, it's done. But you can't here.
No,
what do you
can't.
use?
There's
You're
no way
using
to-
this, so you're sitting here.
There's no way to put, and then that's one of the things when Gibson makes these guitars, they make the fretboard first.
Okay.
Well, I said that in the wrong way. When I say first, I don't mean it's the first piece they make. They actually are making multiple pieces all at the same time. Okay.
Yeah.
But they start with a raw fretboard.
Yeah.
They slot it, inlay it,
Then sand
put
it?
in the frets,
Yeah.
or rather radius it after it's
Okay.
inlaid usually, and then
Then the frets go in.
the frets go in, and then the binding.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they will trim the binding and do that and get it ready to create a sub-assembly that we just call a fretboard.
A fretboard.
I've got one right here
Okay.
that is similar to that in that it's been bound, inlaid, and fretted. Okay. So
Oh yeah.
there's a
Okay.
bound,
So that's it.
inlaid,
There's a
inlaid.
fretboard.
Right.
Boom.
That's a complete unit ready to be glued
And-
onto this neck. And it snaps. And Gibson does this too. They use little pins to snap this on. Okay.
Gotcha.
So that literally just snaps on into place.
Gotcha.
And
I got you.
of course
So why
glue
does
that
Gibson
down.
not do the conical shape? What's the difference between the conical shape and the just flat radius? Is there one or just preference?
There is one, and there is a preference.
Is it a feeling thing, or is it a intonation thing, or is it got along the lines of the fanned out the idea that Rickenbacker with this, the angled fretboards?
I'm going to jump over to the Fender stuff for a specific reason to try to explain this. Fender or Strat guys, especially blues players, if you like to bend on a Strat, you'll run into a situation where if you have let's say a very small radius fretboard, okay, a lot of curve, okay, and let's just say the fretboard fits right in between there.
All right.
So the problem is you like your action low, but you want to bend. If your E string is low, and you have to remember that you have to extrapolate that this is out long, right?
I got you.
You go to push right here, you're going up a hill. but your string is anchored over here at the bottom of the hill. So what happens? This string going across this hill, because that's what it's going to do, it's going to crash into it down here at the lower point of the anchor.
It is, and you're gonna get buzz, and you get all kinds of crap.
So here's what happens.
Yeah.
Most blues strats are set up like this. The high E's are high, or the outer E's are high up. Then the next two, B and A, are a little lower, and then the G and D are the lowest. So you get this funny looking action that's like a really tight curve on the fret,
almost like a
and not nearly as much curve on the strings. Almost a flat.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so that you can bend your, because the truth is, if you're bending from the top of the hill, your D and your G, you're bending down. So you're not going to have that problem.
You're not going to have
only
that
the
issue. It's
low
going
E
up
and the
the
outer
hill.
E and the B
Going up the hill is the
going up
issue.
the hill are the ones that are going to have the problem.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that's it. Hey, reach me. Well, where are they reaching you at, man? From?
Hot Rod's Guitar Shop, either through Facebook, Hot Rod's Guitar Hickson, or they can just call me at the phone number on the screen.
Yeah. The website's still under BennettMusicLab.com?
If for now it is.
For now it is. Okay, so BennettMusicLab.com, and hit reverb on that hammer, dude. It's action's amazing. It's beautiful, and that Warrior over there actually is pretty darn nice.
Yeah, somebody needs this. This is really cool. It's the very last Warrior I ever made.
I know it. That's a
him
Bruce
personally.
Bennett, the last one that he made, and it's absolutely perfect. So yeah, hit him up and check us out on what is it? The Sustainiacs at gmail.com. You can check us out. You can get us there, and also as Ocean 7 at Ocean 7 Music on the Twitter. Right. I put a lot of our stuff out there, and Ocean 7 Music is the picks and capos and so on that I'm.
How's that coming?
It's going great, man. I went and I did a test. I went over to Guitar Center today. See who was there? It was a bunch of people there. I met a guy who played for David Allen Coe back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And Willie Nelson, played with him for a while. Loved the picks. I had about 10 different people trying the picks and using them.
Cool.
I got better comments than I thought. That guy's a professional player from Nashville, what happened to be there, said 40 years, dude, this is the pick for me.